Well, thank you. Thank you for having me here. I am thrilled to be speaking in front of a distinguished audience from the UK and also from my country, the Philippines. My dear friend and our consul from the Philippines, Stacy Alcantara, is here. And of course, the members of UPF and Marie, my friend Marie and David, and everyone. Thank you. Good afternoon. I am very happy that the speaker before me had an extensive enumeration of the Philippine commitments to international and other obligations, including those relative to peace, related to peace. That was almost complete. It makes my job easier that I don't have to enumerate all of these accomplishments of our country. So I'd like to focus more on the more practical experience of the Philippines as regards to trying to achieve peace, which remains, I cannot deny the fact, elusive. But there have been concrete steps by not just this government, but by previous governments. As former President Arroyo would say, every president contributes a stone for the edifice. So every administration, I think, has tried its best. But there are hits and there are misses. And peace remains elusive, like I said. But I believe the Philippines, in maybe 10 years ago, we led the charge. We were one of the leading forces in promoting interfaith dialogue, the role of interfaith dialogue. It was during the time of President Arroyo when the Philippines led the organization, international organization relative to interfaith dialogue. And I think it's very important, especially when it comes to the Philippine experience, particularly in Mindanao, because it is the region of the Philippines with Muslims, Christians, and Lumads. It's a very diverse society, or the smaller segment of Philippine society. And even if we are majority of the Filipinos are Christians, they actually are able to live in peace, if not for the extremists or the separatists. And that is why, that is the difficulty and that is the challenge. But recently, not just the ability to coexist, which is what interfaith dialogue is all about, but the Philippines recently passed the Bangsamoro Organic Law, so the BOL, which seeks to give to the Filipinos from Mindanao what is due them. And we hope that this will be a more solid path to peace. That is the hope. That is the desire of this government. And it made sure that Congress, that Congress passed it. It didn't make it to the State of the Nation address of the president. But I think the next day it was passed. And that is something that we hope, but but only time will tell if that really is the path to peace. Another very solid effort to bring peace to Mindanao, like the invitation suggests, is development. This administration is committed to bringing development to the countryside through the ambitious Build, Build, Build program of President Duterte. And I think it is an infrastructure program like no other. The last time we had, I guess, a program as close to this was during the time of PGMA, or President Arroyo, when the nautical highways were constructed, bridging the islands, because we are an archipelago. So you would understand how it is not only sometimes the religious beliefs of our people that divide, it is actually the geography, the topography of a place, because we are, like the previous speaker said, an island of, a country of 7,107 islands. And I think we've increased. We have, right? Supposedly, because of climate change, we would lose more islands. But interestingly, in our case, they discovered some more. So, yeah. So with all those islands, it's hard to sometimes communicate. And Filipinos, like I'm from Cebu, Marie is from Cebu, some are from Manila, and we are regionalistic. So even amongst ourselves, we are united under one flag. We have, we have the same oath, panunumpa. But even amongst ourselves, we disagree, and we compete. And I guess it is the same as the case here in the United Kingdom. But it's just maybe more interesting in the Philippines because of our insurgency problem down south. But the aim of development is to, bridge everyone together physically, with infrastructure, the building of ports, airports, seaports, farm-to-market roads. They call it RoRo ports, roll-on, roll-off ports, ferry ports. That on all of this seek to bring everyone closer together, and at the same time to bring development down to the countryside, down to the poorest of the poor, because the last 10 years has seen a resilient Philippine economy. We pride ourselves in not just resilience, but in having a robust economy. The momentum started of all times during the global economic meltdown. During the 2000s, the Philippines had, Migs is the economist here, 38 quarters of uninterrupted economic growth. And when the major economies throughout the world were floundering, faltering, failing, during the global economic crisis, which was the worst recession the world had seen, we grew. We actually grew. And it was because of fiscal reforms that were passed in 2006, 2007. And that the momentum continued until 2000, and until after 2010, until 2016, before the current administration. And because of that momentum, the current administration has enough resources to embark on an ambitious infrastructure program, nationwide infrastructure program. And then we recently passed a tax law. It's called TRAIN, the first part of it, and we're hoping to pass the next one, which will shore up more resources to finance the infrastructure project. Because the problem has always been we had good GDP, but it was always just good on paper. The poorest of the poor never felt it. It never trickled down. It was always that was always the issue there. So how do we trickle down? How does this GDP, the good macroeconomic fundamentals translate to a better life? You have to have infrastructure. And why am I talking about a good economy and development? Because that's the only thing that will bring peace to Muslim Mindanao for decades plagued by poverty, abject poverty, hopelessness, and a lack of opportunity. So there is interfaith dialogue. There are well-meaning organizations, international organizations, the UN. They go to Mindanao, they do their thing. But for the last 30 years, it has still been a problem. And as far as I'm concerned, we talk about the Philippine model for peace. It is a work in progress, but we're getting there, hopefully. But more than lip service, we need to bring development there. And it is being done. We hope. I am not with government, unlike Stacy here. I am not officially with government. Well, not yet, or I don't know, we'll see. I'm not in government, but I support this government's agenda. And I hope that other countries see that there is a solid master plan. Now, there is a framework that we are following to bring development, ergo peace, to Muslim Mindanao, because that is where peace is most elusive. I'd prefer a more interactive discussion. So I think there will be a question and answer portion later. I prefer to reserve the rest of the conversation there. Thank you and good afternoon.